have managed to find a speaker with a good cone. I knew I had one somewhere, so that will probably go into here. I will have to check things like the field coil resistance and just make sure that they're the same. I suspect they will be. The back of the bell here is slightly different. This one is actually bolted onto a bracket in the back, and this doesn't appear to be, so there may be a little bit of jiggery pokery, but hopefully not too much. Hopefully I don't have to do something horrible like take the cone from this one and fit it into here, but we'll see how we go. At least I have a good cone for it, if nothing else, a complete speaker. At this stage my plan is to get the speaker off. I'm not even going to try and power this setup. I don't think there's any point. It won't achieve anything. I really, at this point, think the whole set needs to be gone over. We'll just attack it and see how we go. I'm going to remove the valves. I'm going to remove the speaker. That's going to protect those from any damage while we're working upside down. Certainly the speaker is just a giant pain in the butt being bolted to the chassis like this, so we'll take that off. I think I'll probably take the whole mounting bracket and everything off. Alright, as you can probably see, we've got a significant amount of mouse in there, which is not lovely, but it happens. There's our speaker plug, 3-pin, haven't seen one of those before, so that's interesting. And let's just push this out of the way for the moment and take a look at our two speakers. So they're both probably effectively the same size. I expect it's the same pressing. So these are basically the same. The bells are the same. So it's just this bolting mechanism on the back that's different. We've got some kind of a stud here. We don't here. I have to think about swapping these because I imagine this holds the pole piece in, and the pole piece is what's centered in the middle of the cone. So as soon as I release that, I'm going to misalign the cone. The cone is mounted via the spider to the pole piece, I think there. So it may stay centralized if I'm careful, but it probably won't. And when I tighten up this in here, I have the possibility that the pole piece will turn, which will turn and tear the spider. So I'm going to have to think about this. I may do some research and see if someone's pulled one of these speakers apart before I go and mess this up horribly. But at least, if nothing else, like I said, I should be able to actually pull this cone and voice coil and just fit it to this one. I'm not sure if they're glued down or if they're just held down by this set of three, what looks like plastic, could be Bakelite hold downs here. We'll come back to that because at the moment, whilst that is a problem, it's not the only problem. Okay, as you can see, there's some damage to the plating here from rodents over the years. There's probably not a great deal we can do about that. This chassis has been chrome plated by the looks of it. The rust has lifted that plating, and so all we can really do there is clean it up and put some kind of protective coating on it to ensure that it doesn't get any worse. It's a shame because, as I said in the previous video, the chassis condition of this set is phenomenal for its age. It's in absolutely pristine condition, where it hasn't obviously had mice using it as a latrine. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Luckily that area is hidden under the speaker and behind this bracket, but it happens. So that's our 80 rectifier. Keep all the parts in a bin back here, and I'll clean these before they go back in. that'll be our 2A5 I guess. 2A5, yep, that's the output. We've got to pop these caps off. Now they'll be on there pretty well, and never ever pull these caps off or try to pull them off, because more than likely with the years of abuse they've had, they're probably rusted on a little bit. What you'll end up doing is ripping the cap off the glass. So try and get something between the grid cap and the connector and just gently prise it. That one's free. That one's free. That one's free, and we've just moved, so that's good. So that just saves us ripping that grid cap off the glass. They're only cemented onto it. They will take a wee bit of pressure, but not a great deal. So standard Atwater Kent valve shield. $55. Alright, just going to work my way around here. Alright, valves are now out. These leads, they're all shot, they'll need to be replaced. Some of them have a ground wire wrapped around the outside. We'll take a look at that. I do have some braid that I can put over the top of some cloth wire just to affect that shielding better. We'll have a look at that. I'll also refer to other people's experiences while I'm doing this, so others have done this before. I'm not the first person to restore a 708. I did print out a bunch of, and this will give you an idea how dusty it is. I printed out some information from Dan Koczur, Koczur. Sorry Dan, if you ever find yourself watching this, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. He wrote a really detailed article on his repair of one of these, and so I will refer to that as I go through here. No point reinventing the wheel if he's discovered stuff. I don't want to break things discovering stuff he's already figured out. So what we got is lots of rubber wire. Now the nice thing is that most of the rubber wire that I'm seeing under here, not all of it, there's a piece that as soon as I touch it's going to disintegrate. We've got a couple of bits from the transformer here which have already started to disintegrate. But some of the stuff over here is really supple, and we notice these two wires from this capacitor block, and I have confirmed that is a capacitor block. There is some rubber wire in here which is beautifully supple. I'm going to pull this out and have a look at restuffing it and then using it. It's I think it's all the decoupling caps live in there. We'll pull up the Nostalgia, well I won't pull up the Nostalgia Air version of the circuitry because whilst Nostalgia Air is a brilliant site, very very helpful, most of their scans are very very low quality, which is a shame. If you haven't seen it, World Radio History has an archive of publications related to radio from all over the world. I think it used to be called American Radio History, and then they started to take on more and more publications, which was really good to see. And there's some Kiwi ones in there as well. But one of the things they've got archived is some reasonably nice quality scans of the Writers' books. And so Writers Volume 4, I think, or Edition 4, has the circuitry for this. There's possibly some updates to it in later ones. I have seen cases where you find, you know, the circuit published in one, and then 2 years later there's an updated circuit with a bunch of updates and things in it. But what's really important at the moment is just figuring out what values go where, and possibly what wires go where if we're trying to track down the original homes of things like this. But hopefully that won't be too terribly difficult, and with other people's experiences we should be fine. There are some oddball components in here. We've got these, which I mentioned the other day, which are flexible resistors, so we'll have to check those. If they're still good, we will probably leave them alone. I don't want to be replacing good authentic components for no reason. You know, things like the cap block, if we can save that, well and good. If we can't, well, the caps are already out and been replaced and tied into the various parts of the circuit they need to be tied into, so should be fine there. The scary bit, the bit I'm not looking forward to. Is what's in here. Yeah. This apparently is not going to be a whole lot of fun from those who have done it before. Wiring's going to be short. There's a bunch of caps under there by the looks of it. There's some flexible resistors, there's some rubber wire. We need to get in there. Well, I need to get in there. You don't have to watch. Fast forward if you like. Alright, and we're actually missing one of the screws, and I didn't do that. I should be able to rescue one from another chassis. We'll see how we go. So, what do we got holding us in at the moment? On the top, we've got our dial lights, a couple of wires which were rubber by the looks of things, although it looks like inside they might be silk covered. Now I've cut those staggered. I can just keep track of which wire went where, just in case I need to. I don't think I need to. That's that taken care of. So now, what we got left, there is definitely rubber wire feeding up through. It is definitely very short. Colours are still visible. It's still flexible in a lot of cases, that I can sort of see. So there's a chunk of loom down in here, which comes up through a hole, a pile of wires, and those wires are down in here, and they're all coloured, so that's going to be really useful. What I'm going to do is just stop though, because I want to take some notes on the wiring and where it goes, just in case they crumble and I lose all the colouring. Just peel off a bit of the outer coating. That one looks brown. So what do we use? Purple? Let's use purple. And we've got a few more. This one you can't quite see, and these are just too gone to get a colour from, I think. Wires I'm trying to identify are down here. Can't quite see what they are. They might be the filament or the heaters. Yeah, I think those are the heaters, so they'll run up and feed the heaters on the other, on the RF sub-chassis valves. So let's call those black. Okay, that's those ones. We got the blue one, we got the yellow one. There's another one down under here. Alright, that's the other black wire that we've got. Make sure there's no other sneaky ones under here. 2 black ones, yellow one, the red one, blue one, there's a green one which comes up here. There we go, a genuine big one. So green comes up to here. More. Which comes up to the bottom of that resistor cluster, and it looks white. Or it looks like one day it might have been white. Looks white to me. Alright, now we're going to represent white. Pink. Alright, that's the wires from one hole. 2 holes to go, I think. So that's our cluster of wires we've just dealt with down here. We've got another couple of wires here which looks like yellow and black. Yellow and some dark colour. Blue perhaps. We've got a blue and a red wire here, which are actually what's holding it up. And there's at least 2 other wires down the back there. There's a black one here and a red one here, which looks like it's coming apart. I've probably got enough information there to actually start cutting things. So it's a scary bit. So just going to map out wires go as I can see them. Alright, I think, short of taking a few pictures, which I'm going to do just for reference, I think we've actually got as much information as I'm going to get there. Take tons of photos. Video, photos, take them all. At this point, we do the terrifying bit. And there it is, one RF subchassis separated from the main chassis, and now we can actually get in there and replace a large number of caps. I don't imagine any of these have seen the light of day since 1933. But we'll go and give this a bit of a blowout, and I'm going to rebuild this. I'm going to run a bunch of wires onto it, ready to run through to wherever these wires came from. Nice thing that you can possibly see on here is that this blue wire, once I've cut it, is very clearly blue, red's very clearly red, black is very clearly black. This one, which I thought was black, actually looks to be green. So that's this one here. So just note that on our notes. And here's what we got for notes. It's good enough to tell me where things actually go. I've pictorially drawn it. That helps me a hell of a lot better than just drawing schematics, is to actually look at where things came from, what colours they were, draw them in. I'll do this really elaborately on some sets. On this one, I just want to remember where stuff goes and what colours were what and where they went. These 2 holes are not actually in front of each other. They're side by side. And there we go. So I'm going to set this chassis out of the way for the moment. So I've blown this off, cleaned it up. I'm actually pretty happy with restoring this particular part of the radio. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with it, other than these short wires when I go to put it back together. Particularly these ones at this end of the subchassis, which go onto the band switch, which is very much directly beneath, just on the main chassis. Basically run through to here, and getting them back through and short again is going to be awkward at best. So because these wires seem to mainly run up through into the tuning gang, I may actually, can I unbolt the tuning gang? I can, but then I'll have to do that. Nah, that's going to be awkward. It's all awkward. Who knew it would be awkward? Well, actually I can take it off here, and given that those are rubber mounts, okay, so I can potentially take the tuning gang off this side plate, which is what it's mounted to, and if I do that, I'm going to introduce other problems. We're going to see how we go. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape on this. I'm going to just do my best, but for now you can sit down the back there, and this is what we're working on. Now these coil can caps are separate, and that looks like an IF can. That also looks like an IF can. That looks like an IF can. We've got 3 IFs in this set. We maybe do, given the plethora of 58s. So we've got this apart. We can get these caps replaced. I'm going to replace all the wire that looks like it's rubber, which probably loosely translates to I'm going to replace all the wire. Right. I've got white, which I need. I've got yellow, which I need. I've got blue, which I need. I've got brown. I've got red. I've got green. And I've got black. And I've got a wee bit more black and a wee bit more blue. And I've got some orange, which I haven't seen any orange in here, but that's not to say there isn't any. Or that there isn't some other weird colour that I haven't seen yet. Alright, I think that's the wire I'm going to use. I'm going to leave more than I need, because if I do it short, I'm going to cry like a little baby. No one wants to see that. I think I just need to start replacing stuff and see where it takes me. So I suspect a lot of these caps are going to be 0.05s by the looks of things. Got what looks like a resistor down underneath the contacts of this one. Told the wires would just be laid over the top, but that's actually looped around, which is good. Good to see. That comes over here. It's our first bit of crumbly, bumbly wire. Alright. Alright, so first piece replaced. That feels kind of good to get that done. Alright, I'm going to break this RF subchassis video into 2 parts, and we'll stop this one here. I haven't achieved a great deal on the actual subchassis, but a lot of the groundwork has been laid to ensure that the next stage goes as smoothly as it can, given the complexity of this set.